Hi guys, Kelly Slater here to talk about a couple of boards. Same board, different makes. This is a Gamma LFT, my latest one, and this is a Gamma Helium. Same board, slightly different weight, slightly different makeup. We worked on the Gamma shape, the model, for a couple of years. I'd say probably 2 years or so. I think the moment that I decided I loved the shape and that was it was surfing at Trestles. This is a while ago because we don't put models out until well after we've designed them. You know, we work on this for a long time. But I mean, this is going back over a year ago that I liked this board, probably a year and a half, surfing at lowers. And then about 3 or 4 months later, I got one in Hawaii and I rode it. I was surfing Pupukea. It was like 6 foot plus and my small board worked really well. That was about it. So it was kind of almost 2 stages where I said we're ready for this board. As for these boards, so the LFT I rode first today. I surfed all day. It's dark now, tired, but I want to test these 2 boards out. This board has a little bit more weight to it. Today we didn't expect much wind, but the wind kind of kicked up. So as expected, I figured the board with a little bit more weight might feel a little bit better because there's just a little bit of chatter on the surface. And here at Surf Ranch, we do get some funny things. If we don't wait long enough, we'll get some funny little currents in the wave, and sometimes they're going with you as opposed to at you. And if you're going along in a wave and then the water's kind of moving with you, you don't feel like you have that same kind of friction or that same kind of push on the water. And so the board that had a little bit more weight felt better in those sections. It just felt like a really good all-around board. I haven't ridden this board in a little while, so it was nice to kind of get back on to something feeling familiar. First wave, it felt great straight away. I rode the Helium version second. This board is a bit lighter, measurably lighter. I recently let a friend of mine in Hawaii ride this board, and he was kind of jumping out of his skin afterwards, saying how positive the feel was, how quick it was, just how responsive overall. And that's how this board felt today to me. These Helium boards are so light. They still have a good rigidity to them, good strength to them. And the one thing I noticed about the difference, even though they're the same exact shape and volume, this board seemed to have a tighter radius turn on it. I think just from the lightness, I could kind of whip it around quicker. On a typical day-to-day, especially in beach break waves, I would be on this. And this would be more of the open face board, just because it has that little bit more weight to it. I'll talk about fins real quick. This is a version of my K3 fin that I did with FTS. You can notice it has a little bit smaller back fin. That's kind of my thing. That I kind of grew up surfing twin fins, so I like the feeling of a little bit looser tail in the board. A little bit smaller fin here. I have 2 different fins I ride exclusively, have for 20 years now. This is a more raked back version. I like this for more open face waves, J-Bay, maybe Rincon, you know, just something with a bigger open face. When I surf in a hollower wave or beach break, kind of peaky short turns, shorter radius turns, I like to use the K2.1s that I had with FCS, and I still keep a few of those around. In fact, this is the back fin of a set that is that exact shape. So I sometimes use 4 fins. As people know, I have all my boards set up as 5 fins, just for that option. If I have occasionally really small waves that are kind of flat, I'll use 4 fins because there's more to push off of. There's just more fin base, there's more grab when you're trying to find speed. And if I have a real wide squash tail on the board, this isn't a very wide squash tail, but sometimes when I have a really wide squash for a small board, something that's shrunken down and widened up a little bit, I'll use a 5th fin, the little nubster fin that I did with a friend of mine. Because there's a little bit of area where these quads spread out and there's a lot of tail area. So I'll use that little nubster just to kind of lock the board in. I made that fin with a friend of mine named Sean Madison, old Florida guy who lives now in Oceanside, California. I first started riding that in 2011 in New York at the Quick Pro, and it felt great for me. I felt like it helped me a lot in a lot of situations with boards where it felt like the quad didn't quite lock in. Sometimes they get a little bit drifty on you, and the little nubster just kind of stops that a little bit. It's almost, my theory on 5-fin boards is almost like the opposite of what the Bonzers do. But at the same time, we're both 5 fins. The Bonzers are like smaller fins in the front and a big one in the back. That comes, I think, a little bit more from that single fin era. And as I said, I came from kind of the twin fin era, so I like that feeling of the bigger pivoting fins in the front and the smaller fin in the back. So the tail just kind of whips around a little bit better, and I feel like you get a little more speed turn to turn. As far as forefins, I use those mostly in barrels. Sometimes in small, sort of flatter waves when I want to do airs, it feels like it grabs really nice when I land back in the water. The fin kind of stabilizes the board right away, all that fin area. But in barrel waves, it's much more free in the tail, and I think I can get more speed straight away. When I'm trying to do turns right in the pocket, I think a thruster is superior. I just think it's better because it kind of cavitates, but then it grabs straight away. Whereas the quad kind of releases and you don't get the control back as quickly. It's funny because I confuse myself a lot. I ride a lot of different kind of boards and fins, and I'll try any kind of fin, but when it comes down to it, if I'm going to look at the waves, there's a certain type of wave, a certain size or a certain shape, and a certain kind of surfing I want to do, I know exactly what I can lock into. I think you have to go into it with a theory because there's so many possibilities of things that you could do to fin setups. One that I recently saw in the past couple of years was taking the front fins and keeping them basically parallel and having the back fins turn in. And I saw this in a couple of different board models. And when I first saw it, I was really confused by it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But now when you think about it, this side, when you're turning on this rail, you're turning in a radius that's like this around the fin. So this would be kind of your center point, and this fin helps to kind of set the turn. So I've been thinking about something like that with my fins as well to kind of mess around with. Anyways, I stay up at night thinking about this stuff. I draw fins all the time. I've been doing it lately, so I'm looking to come out with some new fin designs in the near future, some stuff I'm working on. And this is like, I can go on all day about surfboard design and fins and making stuff. I love making stuff with my hands. I've made a lot of fins and boards throughout the year just at home. I used to just sit around my house and take fins and reshape them and then put them on boards and stuff when I was a kid. I've always been into that design stuff. My brother is a shaper as well, Sean. So we've kind of always loved building things. Our dad was a builder, so we've always liked to work with wood and things like that. But anyway, so thanks you guys for listening, tuning in, checking it out. And I hope that everyone gets a wave at Surf Ranch one day. We're here now. I love seeing everyone's face and excitement before and during and after surfs here. So hope everyone gets here one day to surf, and come check out the Founders Cup. Come check out the event we're having in September. That's a World Tour event, and I'll see you guys soon.